Welcome to another lesson that looks at articles. So we're going to look at an article in a newspaper. We're going to concentrate on how it uses a and the. This was an article in today's newspaper. Today is the 8th of September 2016, and it was about grammar schools, which is a type of selective school which we have in some places in England, but they did introduce in 1998 a ban on grammar schools. It was introduced with Tony Blair's government. And this article starts by discussing, it starts by discussing what Theresa May, the new Prime Minister, what she has said about grammar schools. So let's get straight to business. Britain's education system has already has selection by house price, Theresa May said on Wednesday night as she defended her plans to lift the ban on new grammar schools. Now, the simple reason why it says the ban on new grammar schools is because it assumes the reader will be aware of the ban on new grammar schools, which the article is talking about, and this is the ban which it mentions later on, further down the text. Tony Blair, it was introduced by Tony Blair in 1998. And it says the ban, once again, the ban on new grammar schools. And so this is a concept it believes the reader will already be aware of, because the headline is about grammar schools, and it's pretty well known that there was a ban on new grammar schools at that time. Okay, now we go on to the Prime Minister said she wanted to create a 21st century education system with an element of selection. Now, I would use the same argument for both of these indefinite articles. Here, notice the verb want, which you will very often see with the indefinite article. You'll see it later on in the text here. She wanted an education system, and she didn't want a situation where parents wanted a selective school. So notice that want is very often with the indefinite article. For example, I want an ice cream, I want an apple. And there is a good reason here. It's because we, at the moment that you want something, we don't think it's defined. We don't even think it exists in the real world yet. And so we just use an indefinite article. This is something that the Prime Minister wants to create. It's something that doesn't exist yet. And so it would have to be indefinite, a 21st century education system. We don't know which one. It doesn't exist yet. She wants to create it. And it's going to have an element of selection. We don't know what element of selection yet. And so it's very indefinite. It really must be AA. And then she spoke on the plans. Now, this must be the plans because it means her plans here. So there's a direct link between her plans and the plans. And the first time. Well, there's only one first time since the Telegraph disclosed. This is the first time. It's very definite. And with first and second, you very often use the definite article. And so we see it again in the first major policy announcement. Well, there's only one first major policy announcement, so it must be the. We see it with superlatives, the best, the worst. I'm sure you're aware that you must use the with superlatives because it means there's only one, again. And then it talks about the catchment area. Now, catchment area is the area around a school where if the child lives in that area, they will be allowed to go to that school. And it's referring to the catchment areas of the best state schools. And so it doesn't mean any catchment areas. It's the catchment areas of the best state schools. So it really must be the. It's become very defined again. Now, according to sources at the meeting, you might be wondering which meeting, perhaps because we've speed read this really just to focus on the articles, but please, the link is under the video. If you want to read this first and then watch the video, please do. So the meeting is referring to the meeting which the Prime Minister had, I think with the backbench committee of Conservative MPs. But it could be the one meeting that she had on Wednesday night. I'm not entirely sure, and I must admit it's not very clear to me. But I think the fact that the writer has used the, I know that it's one of those two things. It's something that has been mentioned earlier. So that's what the definite article does. It refers you to something which has been mentioned earlier very often. Okay. Now, this information about new grammar schools that Theresa May was planning on creating new grammar schools, it was of course, oh, excuse me, it was of course confirmed in a leaked document. I don't know if that was accidentally leaked or leaked on purpose. But we say a leaked document because, well, you're told that when you first introduce a noun, you should use a, which is true sometimes, most of the time. And it's because it's something new to existence. And so you use this a to just introduce something which doesn't exist yet, just like a 20th century education system, 21st century, sorry, education system. It didn't exist at that moment, so we used a, and yeah, it's just being introduced into this discourse, the leaked document, so we use a the first time it's introduced. Okay, we have the ban on new grammar schools. I've already explained that. Now look at some more things which don't exist yet. She will publish a green paper. Doesn't exist yet. We don't know what it is yet. And she will give a major speech. Again, we don't know what kind of major speech she will give. After telling MPs that she wants a new generation of grammar schools. Well, she wants it, and I told you about the verb want. There it is again with a. She wants a new generation of grammar schools. We don't know what these grammar schools will be like yet. We know that there will be a new generation, but that doesn't tell us any real information. It doesn't define which ones. And they just don't exist yet. So we really would use the indefinite article here. And again, she wanted an education system which catered for the different needs of all children. Now that's very defined. It's which different needs? The different needs of all children, not just some children, and it's very definite, all children. And indicated that grammar schools have a role to play. Now remember that have is used in existential clauses. Have is just stating something that exists very often. When you say I have a sister, you're just saying that in this world there, there is a sister who has that relationship with you. And the same with when you say grammar schools have a role to play. You're just affirming the existence of this role to play, but we don't know what kind of role it is yet. Okay, she suggested that some of the governments, the British governments, so that's why we use the, because we mean the British government. And again, we have want with a, and we have a source at the meeting said. Now we don't know who this is. We just kept the words a source. It's very undefined. So we really must use a again. Okay, her comments were met with cheers by Conservative MPs who were buoyed by a strong performance earlier against Jeremy Corbyn, the Labour leader. Now, a strong performance here, it's the first time we're introducing this idea of a strong performance, and because of this, we're just introducing it as a concept that they were buoyed, they were cheered up by a strong performance earlier against Jeremy Corbyn. It's just asserting the existence, really, of this strong performance again. I would say it's an existential clause. And the Labour leader, there's only one, he's been named here, and so it again becomes very defined. By the way, we saw this in the previous article, or with my student, we saw that we could change this. Jeremy Corbyn, the Labour leader. We could say against Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn with no article. And then it would have no article because we don't put articles before Jeremy. We just get rid of it if we turn this round. Because of the commas, we can put the Labour leader, and we must. But if we had said who were buoyed by a strong performance against Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn, then it would have no articles. Okay, a few more. An education minister. This tells me that there is more than one education minister, which surprised me. I wasn't aware of that. I thought there was only one. And if there was only one, it would be the education minister. Again, the government, the British government, the Grammar School Association, only one Grammar School Association. The 11 plus is a certain exam which they take to go to grammar schools. And so because we know which exam this is, it's very definite. It says exactly which exam it is. And with a strong emphasis on reasoning. So this has again, I think this is quite like a strong performance, but we're just introducing this strong emphasis on reasoning. It doesn't actually exist yet, because this is how they're going to change this exam. They're going to include a strong emphasis on reasoning, but it doesn't exist yet, and so it sounds much better again to use the indefinite article.